Welcome to the Dr. Bros, where we have an honest discussion around vet life in and out of the clinic. My name is Jeff. I'm your doc of the day and your guide through this episode.
I'm a third-year veterinary dermatology resident out of Louisville, Kentucky, and this is Adam.
Hey, this is Adam. I am a relief veterinarian in Louisville, Kentucky as well.
Hey, this is Chris, and I'm a GP out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And I'm Brandon. I'm a small animal internal medicine resident at Iowa State University.
All right, and we're so glad to be here with you today. I'm going to go ahead and point out for the listeners who have not been with us for the past hour, as we've had so many technical difficulties and we're trying all the things to make this work out. But we are here, we're in it, we're very excited. So I did want to point out at the top of this episode, just a disclaimer, there are going to be some heavy topics. So there may be mention of mental health, burnout, brief mentions of suicide. So if that is something you're uncomfortable with, then feel free to skip on to the next episode, just so you are aware. But first, we'll start off with something very light, easy, and fun. This is a game that I'm affectionately calling Round Table Hot Seat. So none of my podcast hostmates know what's about to happen because I made this up about 45 minutes, 2 hours ago, before the podcast really started. So, round table hot seat. Here are the rules. I'm going to go around one person at a time and ask you a question. It'll be trivia about vet med. Some of it will be outside of vet med or related to us. And if you get the answer right, you get a point. I'm the judge, so I get to decide if you got the answer right or not. This is my reality welcome. So there is no prize but bragging rights, but welcome. And if you're listening and in vet med, maybe you'll get some of the answers right yourself. So we will start out, and there will be a time limit of, I'm going to cap it at 5 minutes or whenever I finish these questions, literally opening up my notes app on my phone, starting at the top. So time limit of 5 minutes, you will have up to 10 seconds to answer your question. If not, I'm moving to the next person and they get to answer your question. Does everybody understand the rules?
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right. And I'm going to start my timer. 5 minutes has begun, starting with Adam. Name 2 pets from members of this podcast.
Dyson and Renly.
Ding, ding, ding. Point for Adam. Let's go to Chris. Name 3 specialties in veterinary medicine.
Derm, internal medicine, surgery.
Ding, ding, ding. Point for Chris. Brandon, name 2 significant others from members of this podcast.
Natalie and Allison.
Ding, ding, ding for Brandon. Going back to Adam, name 2 states that members of this podcast live in besides your own.
Ooh.
North Carolina and not Arkansas, but Iowa.
Point for Adam. Chris, name 2 veterinary schools.
Tuskegee, Auburn.
Point for Chris. Brandon, name 3 animal species.
What?
Dog, cat,
What?
horse.
Points for Brandon. Adam, name one of our professors from vet school.
Dr. Goyal.
Point for Adam. Chris, name 2 medications used for itching in dogs.
Apoquel, Cytopoint.
All right, point for Chris. Adam, name Chris's favorite food.
Pizza.
Point for Adam. Brandon, name 2 animal skin conditions.
Pruritus and I guess I'm
2, 1. No point.
Pyoderma pruritus.
Chris, name 2 animal skin
pyoderma.
conditions.
That's what I was trying to say.
Pyoderma pruritus. I'm going to say pruritus.
Point for Chris.
Crushing it.
Adam, name 1 round cell tumor in animals.
Lymphoma?
And
Marcel.
Brandon, name 1 round cell tumor in animals.
One round cell tumor. Squame? No, that's
3 seconds.
yeah.
Chris, name
mast cell?
one round cell tumor in animals. Mast cell tumor.
Dang.
Adam, name one respiratory disease.
Bordetella.
Point for Adam. Brandon, name one condition or disease that is an emergency in veterinary medicine.
GDV.
Good one.
Correct. Chris, name one autoimmune disease of the skin.
What's it called? Pemphigus foliaceus.
You have 4 seconds. Correct. Adam, name one diagnostic test in veterinary medicine.
Radiographs.
Brandon, name 2 surgical procedures.
Spay and castration.
Correct. Chris, name one pain medication used in animals.
Gabapentin. Caprofen.
Adam, name one exotic animal species.
Lizard.
And we're down to our last 3 questions. Brandon, what is the name of the largest vet conference in North America?
Currently it's called VMX.
Correct. We're in the last minute here. Chris, name one veterinary journal.
Journal of Veterinary Medicine.
You've got 5 seconds.
Journal of Veterinary Medicine.
Does that exist?
Clinician's
I don't know that that's one.
Adam, name one veterinary journal.
Clinician's brief.
Clinician's brief.
Your time is up.
Clinician's
That's
brief.
rigged.
We will accept
You
it.
interrupted.
For Adam, and the last question, for you, Brandon. Who's the prettiest member of this podcast?
It's the prettiest member. It's got to be the host, JT, right?
That's correct. All right. And we made it in just under 5 minutes. So let's tally it up and see where we're at. So I've got a final tally.
I think we need to give Adam credit for when you said round cell tumors, I was confused because isn't lymphoma in that category?
But is it a round cell tumor?
It's a cell and it's round.
Okay. Well, we will give Adam his point, which leaves my final tally at coming in a tied 3rd place, Chris and Brandon at 7 each, leaving somehow sneaking in at the end. Didn't even need that extra point. Adam with 9 points.
Heyo!
Give it up for Adam. Yay!
How are these points weighted?
It's like whose line is it anyway?
It's made
The
up.
points don't matter,
Hey,
and the questions are made up by me.
side note though. Hey, Adam, is a narwhal a real animal?
Fun fact, they are.
That feels like an inside joke.
He just learned that this weekend.
That I love that for you. We're constantly
We
learning.
all learn something new every day.
All right. Moving on. So the main focus of today's podcast, the meat of this podcast, we really wanted to talk a little bit about mental health and veterinary medicine as it affects a lot of people, and a lot of people in particular have gone through burnout. So I wanted to define what it was, and then we'll all kind of talk about it in general and kind of go into the ins and outs of it. But here we go. The definition based on helpguide.org and the Google defines burnout as a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. As that stress continues, you begin to lose interest and motivation that led to your current role that you're working in. Burnout reduces productivity, saps your energy, leaving you feeling increasingly helpless, hopeless, cynical, and resentful. Eventually, you feel like you have nothing more to give. Some of the negative effects of burnout include it spilling into other areas of your life. So outside of work, if that spills into your home life and social life, it can also cause long-term changes on your body that may include making you more vulnerable to illnesses like cold and flu, and different consequences that are yet uncovered, which is certainly concerning. And I will mention, just in general, I feel like a lot of my friends have gone through different levels of burnout. I feel like I've experienced it a little bit in my career as well. And so, question to the group for whoever wants to start, I wanted to know, have any of you experienced burnout? And in general, how do you feel like you deal with it?
I'll go ahead and start with this one because I did mention in a previous episode that after a few years of practice, I was starting to feel that burnout starting to creep up. And again, feeling that so early in practice, being as young as I am, something that I definitely wanted to address head on as soon as possible and not let it linger into, something more severe. And that's when I kind of started exploring other options in the field of veterinary medicine. That's when I switched over and did the USDA. And now I'm back doing relief. And I think the biggest thing for me is trying to find that work-life balance and not, really overworking myself. And I think that's the benefit that comes with relief for me, because, if I do get to a point where I'm starting to feel that little bit of burnout, I can kind of say, okay, let's pump the brakes. Let me just take a long weekend, and not schedule anything on a Thursday through Sunday and take a 4-day weekend just to kind of mentally reset. So that's kind of what I did to kind of help cope with that and kind of rearrange my schedule to be able to adapt to the needs that I have based on the feeling of burnout that I had previously.
I think that's outstanding. Anybody else?
I can jump in. This is Brandon. Your definition of burnout kind of just defined how I feel after every rotation that I finish at work. I guess that's probably because my schedule is like usually anywhere from 12 days on in a row to 2 days off versus 7 days on in a row, 2 days off, and then another 5 days in a row, and then rinse and repeat when I'm on clinics. That's not really a sustainable thing for a full career. It's kind of the way I think about it is like, it's what I signed up for. Is it the way that I think things should be? No. Is it the way that things were for previous residents in my field, and even in particular at where I work? No, actually it was worse before I was here. People had to work longer hours and did more work than I did. And I guess relatively more work and relatively a longer time period. And I can only imagine that the burnout was real for them as well. But the way that I deal with things is just focus on what I can and can't control in the time. Focus on the things that are most important. And when I have my time off, I take it really seriously and really give myself a break.
Sure. I think that's really important. My story, I guess, would be a little bit similar to that. So I feel like I experienced all of these symptoms back in my rotating internship, which I have mentioned a little bit in previous episodes about how I was truly working 80 to 100 hours a week. And kind of similar to you, Brandon, I feel like even though my experience was really grueling, in that if you look at the dynamics of my rotating internship, the workload as far as ER care was, I would guesstimate around 50+% of what I was doing. And so those were like the 80 or the over 80-hour weeks for sure. And that's one reason I initially didn't think I was going to specialize, is because I was like, this is really, really difficult and not something I want to move into. In my case, it was going into the thought of surgery, which are notoriously very, very difficult. And newsflash, internal medicine is also notoriously quite difficult. And you having to have on-call hours, I think is really challenging, and really valiant that you're moving through that to see what the other side looks like in hopefully a year and some change.
Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely the way I personally dealt with it in the moment was specifically was calling friends or family, kind of letting them know what I was going through. For me, exercise is really important for my personal mental health. So I was working out in the time that I had off or available to me, and that helped me kind of get to a mental reset for me. And then, of course, every now and then, when possible, getting a couple of drinks with friends is super, super helpful. All right. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, yeah, that's awesome. But I mean, yeah, I try to do similar things with everything with burnout and try not to overdo it. I know it's usually when I try to do too many things outside of work is when I start getting burned out, I guess. I don't have as crazy of a work schedule as the specialty guys, so really I can't say at work it's that bad. It's mostly when I try to do extracurricular things outside of work that just basically is when I start getting burnt out. But it's nothing. It's nothing which you guys have experienced. It's definitely a lot more mild in my opinion from what you guys have done or are doing.
Sure. And I'm glad that that's not something you've had to deal with. It's not fun or a badge of honor, in my opinion, to be like, yeah, I've dealt with burnout. But it is something that I think we should all be aware of and look out for in our careers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'll just jump back in. It's Brandon again. Fortunately, this is a temporary thing for Jeff and I. We are in our training programs. This isn't going to be like the next 20, 30 years or whatever it might be of our careers doing this degree of work for this long. I've heard from past resident mates that have finished the program, in particular the program that I'm in even, that say it's a completely different when they get out. They have different stressors as far as like being a leader in their position and that kind of stuff. But it's much, much better quality of life post training. So that's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. And I know both of us are over halfway through. I know Jeff's kind of towards the finish line for himself, but just gotta keep going on with the grind and get it done.
Yes, and this is Jeff again, and I will definitely say that it's been, in general, my residency in Durham has been not quite so grueling, I think, as other programs, in that I have moments when I have things just stacking on top of each other, like project over top of presentation, and those weeks and months are really, really bad. But I do at least get, I think, in general, looking at my program as a whole, I think it has not been as burnout-y as life in the past, especially with my rotating internship. That was definitely the hardest year of my career thus far. And then a related question, how has burnout and or heavy stress affected y'all's time outside of the clinic or at home? Or have you noticed those times when you're extra strained at home? I'd like to hear about that.
I can jump in again. It's Brandon. I mean, yeah, I'm usually more tired, maybe sometimes more on edge, depending on things. I'm sure my wife would be able to give you a more accurate description of what I'm like when I'm on or off clinics. The thing for me is a lot of times there'll be things that I need to catch up on to some degree, whether it's a project or a presentation on a paper that I need to do that week, or something else coming up. For me, it's just trying to it's time management. That's like kind of the end of the day is like what everyone I think struggles with. And when you know that your time is not being managed well, like a Saturday where I'm supposed to be off, but I've got some paperwork to catch up on, like I'm noticeably probably more unhappy.
Yeah. And this is Adam. I would say that was a big part of the burnout that I personally was experiencing, was taking it home with me. That was tough in the beginning, especially when I was working full time. Biggest thing that I would do is kind of when I would leave and come home, obviously you have your hope that pet's doing okay. But for me, especially being a new vet, it was how's that surgery doing at home? How, did I run the right test? Did I prescribe the right meds? Did I communicate effectively with the client? Or do they fully understand what they need to be doing at home? That kind of thing. And so I brought a lot of that home with me, and it kind of hung over my head throughout the evenings, when I needed to be relaxing and spending time with my wife. Those things were in the back of my mind. And then, when those things are in the back of your mind, when you're at home, you go in for the next day and you're not mentally refreshed and you're not mentally prepared to start a new day. You still have a quote unquote hangover from the previous day. And that can certainly affect you mentally going forward too. So I've kind of done, a better job, again, getting back into things of being able to separate that. And I think that's kind of key is focusing on, when you go home, you're at home, even if you're on call, like if nobody's calling you, you're at home. You need to focus on you, focus on your family, focus on the things that you like to do, whether it be exercising or binge watching Netflix or, reading a book, whatever your thing is, like that's your time. And you need to spend that time focusing on you, and just kind of building up your health meter, mental health meter again, before you go in for the next day. So that's kind of key. And again, that's something I feel like I struggled with early on. But here lately, I feel like I've done a much better job of kind of separating the two. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, this is Chris, and I agree. I mean, I did the same thing you did, Adam. Like, I still kind of do it, where you kind of worry about, like, did I do that right thing? Did I miss something up? And you definitely have to compartmentalize it. So, like you said, work is work, and I definitely I've stopped doing as much of the stuff I was trying to do outside of work, and now I just usually just try to focus on working out, hanging out with the family, and it's just been a lot more relaxed just in general, not having to go. And it was actually has made work easier for me just from that aspect of not trying to do too much. It's just like, just focus on what's happening. And even then, like, if you do, like, let's say you did forget something or something happened, like, you're human, life happens. Like, as long as you can fix it or own up to it, like, it's bound to happen. So you just gotta kind of go by it, and it's gonna worry you and it's gonna lay heavy on you. But you just gotta just know that if you tried and you did everything that you could have done, you still might mess up, and it's okay. Like, just, you can't let it bother you too much, which goes back to the compartmentalizing work and home and all that.
This is Jeff, and I'll say I commiserate honestly with all those feelings as far as like leaking clinic work, stress, burnout at home. What it kind of looked like for me personally was a lot of not wanting to do the things that I really enjoy doing. Like, I don't feel like going out. I don't feel like hanging out with friends. I don't feel like hanging out with my significant other. I just am literally at home on the bed or doing nothing. And there's nothing wrong with that in general. If you need your time to decompress, that's really, really important. But I definitely recognize when it was like, I am at home on a weekend and I've done nothing for 48 hours, and then I'm back into the thicket of things and kind of repeating that same pattern over and over again, which wasn't good. And then kind of doing that compartmentalization and also deciding at work, where do I need to cut back? What can I adjust at work? And this was a learned skill for me. I feel like not doing records at home whenever possible, or shortening how I'm writing, adjusting my method at work so that I can enjoy life outside of work, which is definitely easier outside of a residency than inside. So thinking about back to my times in GP, for sure, when it was a little bit easier for me, at least, to do that. But definitely also setting boundaries at work and what's good for me personally was really, really important. And actually, like, talking to my staff, my team, and my manager, and saying, like, this is what's acceptable at work. This is the load that I can take on. And also, here are things that I cannot do, or like, I can't do text messages outside of work, or, if it's work related, and I can't take calls when I'm at home. I have to be at home, are all some tips and actionable things I think If you have not tried, listeners, there's some things that you can consider, but definitely communicating with your team at home and your family and also your team at work and letting people know where you're at, I think is really helpful and important and underrated. So another question that I had for everybody, and this is very open-ended, but I would love to know thoughts on therapy. Have y'all ever experienced it? And you don't have to answer if you're not comfortable, or in general for thoughts for people in veterinary medicine, if you think it'd be helpful or anything at all. I feel like our generation as a group in millennials is a little bit more in tune with mental health problems and seeking out additional professional help. But wanted to know your thoughts there.
It's Brandon. No, I think it's a good idea. I've never gone through it myself. It's something that I know has been useful for many people that I know personally, and I won't name any names or anything, but I've heard that it has been helpful for those individuals. And I guess this is a sad thing that for me is like, I don't know when I would go, like when I'd find time to go. Just with the way things are currently for me. Fortunately, right now, like full disclosure, I'm off clinics studying for boards. So my time is supposed to be dedicated to boards, but I've been able to like do things outside of the house that I wouldn't normally do, or, take care of some personal things that I don't normally have time to do. But, yeah, I think therapy can be very helpful, in the, if the person is willing to, go forward with that and utilize it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is Adam. I definitely agree. Like Brandon said, I've never, done any therapy myself, but, I know it has helped a lot of people, and I think there are people out there who are really receptive to it, to just kind of have somebody to talk to, and kind of get things off their chest. And sometimes that kind of helps them figure out what the best, thing for them going forward is. So yeah, I think it's great for especially the profession that we're in. Having that outlet is definitely good.
And this is Jeff, and I'll say, agree with everybody. Once again, not a big surprise. I think I've had personally a lot of really close friends be in therapy. I haven't had the pleasure to go myself, which I'll quickly say, because I don't think it needs to be taboo. Like, I've been looking for a mental health professional and dealt with the normal, unfortunately normal problems with like, will my insurance pay for this person versus this person? Are you dating therapists, quote unquote, like jumping around and seeing who personally fits for you? All those things are very important, and trying to look for somebody who can understand my general experiences is really difficult. And so actively looking, and not a big deal, and probably not a bad idea just to get a check-in anyway for things that I've dealt with in the past, and are they affecting my future, and other things that I've gone through in such a heavy stress field. And we'll openly say for the general, I guess, for our whole profession, I guess this is the disclaimer warning again, but veterinary medicine is often extremely high in our rates of depression. It, at one point, I don't know if it still holds true, was number 1 or number 2 for rates of suicide, and has been just a really heavy stress field for multifactorial reasons, related to clients, related to the field itself, related to the animals we take care of. We're one of the few fields that deals with euthanasia of our patients, and we all really think about our patients before we take those sort of actions and decisions. And so it's very hard to leave that at work 100%. So it's very important. So if you're out there listening, thinking about therapy and looking for a sign, here's your sign to go look for somebody.
Hey, and it's Adam again. I just wanted to add on to one thing that you said that I thought was really good, that, even if you don't feel like you're completely overwhelmed, finding somebody just to do a quick mental check-in is phenomenal. I think that's a great idea, because again, you don't want to wait until the bitter end, and you don't want to wait till you're at your lowest low, before you start seeking therapy. So I think, anytime you start to have any sort of signs of depression or suicidal thoughts or anything that may lead you down that road, trying to get ahead of it, and trying to seek out somebody for help is very important. So I think that's a great point that you kind of made there. Just like, even if you feel like, everything's going okay, but hey, it'd be good just to check in with somebody and, do a quick mental checkup, if you will. I think that's a great idea.
1000% agree. 1000%. And coming towards the end of my line of questioning, I did want to ask, on a lighter note, I suppose, what is something that helps you recenter? So what is something that helps you the most? I'm looking for like an activity or short story, whatever you got. What is something that's been really good for you that helps keep you centered and focused? Something that's a rock for you, activity, a person. Would love to know what has been something that really keeps you at peace or helps bring you back into a good place.
This is Chris. I'll go. I think the thing that's helped me out the most has just been working out recently, because it's just something I can do, get my mind off of work and just kind of refocus on what I need to do. After that, it's definitely because that's just working out. But then, like, things I do to focus and not have to worry about work and kind of recenter is hanging out with my kids. I just have a lot of fun doing that, and my wife, like, we just do random stuff on the weekends. And like, a great thing we did this weekend is we had Adam and his wife and kids over, and saw them for the first time in a long time, and that was just great to just see the kids hanging out and being just kids and doing their thing and having fun with them. But the thing I can do consistently is definitely working out. So that's the thing that helps me out the most is doing that. It used to be disc golf, but that's just been too hard to do and scheduling with kids and everything. So working out's definitely now my new fallback to do.
Yeah, so this is Adam. For me, family, my wife, my kids, that's obviously, number one on my list. Spending time with them, sure. Anytime I'm with them, any kind of outside stress kind of melts away. I mean, sure, that comes with its own stresses, keeping up with 2 toddlers. But everything outside of that, kind of melts away when you're hanging out with family. Outside of that, and this is something I'd like to get back into because it has kind of fallen by the wayside as of late, especially with kids and work and everything. But running was something that I started getting into a few years ago. I ran 2 half marathons. I actually started getting the motivation to run a half marathon from Chris, because Chris was texting me about how he was going to do one. And I was like, well, I can't let Chris do one and not do one now, because he's telling me he's going to do one. So I did one too. And I did 2, back-to-back years. And I'd always done, like shorter runs, like 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile runs. And they were nice. But when I was training for that half marathon, you start getting into those practice runs that are 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 miles. When you run that far, it's just you and your thoughts. So I really like that time to where, I could really just be by myself and let my mind wander, because you think about it, how often in a day do we have that? Pretty much when we shower. That's why they call it shower thoughts, I guess, because that's really the only time you have completely to yourself, where it's just you and your thoughts. So, being able to do those longer runs where, it was just me, it was almost like kind of a little meditation for me, getting some exercise done, but also just kind of recentering my mind. And so that's something I really enjoy as well.
No, I like that. This is Brandon. It's funny you said that. Lindsay just ran her first half marathon this past year.
Woo woo!
She's getting me into running some more too.
What?
Yeah, I'm signed up for a 5K soon-ish, and then Lindsay and I are doing a sprint triathlon here in Ames. So it's like there's like an open swim, a 15-mile bike ride, and then there's a 5K instead of like a marathon part of it. But yeah, jumping into it, yeah, exercise is something that I think is helpful when I actually do it. It's like forcing myself to do it is part of the battle after being tired and everything. But when I actually like do it, whether it's a run or like some weights or something else, it has its own like relieving qualities, and I feel a lot better after getting it done. And then I agree with Adam. Like for me, at least, just spending time with my wife Lindsay and then my dogs and my cat. That time is usually pretty limited when I'm actively working on the clinic floor. So I take like any time we have off, or if for whatever reason we have like an extended amount of like time where we're both like, I'm maybe off clinics for a week. Just the way things work out, and Lindsay being a teacher is off in the summertime. So when those things line up, I mean, we take advantage, and I'll, do what I need to do on my end, but also, be somewhere outside of the middle of Iowa, for our quality of life. So yeah, definitely family and doing things with family, and especially my wife, Lindsay. And then exercise, like the two big ones. And then just decompressing with just easy to watch TV is sometimes, it's not that it's like the most healthy thing, but it's something that'll let you to zone out. And then I listen to podcasts and audiobooks and stuff too when I have time to like just sit down and listen. Or if I'm going for a walk in particular, something that's less strenuous than a run, the dogs get exercise, but I have some time to myself to just not think about anything.
And this is Jeff kind of bringing it home for this question. I would say, yes, I will give the cop-out significant other answer, in that I love spending time with my boyfriend, and it's really helpful and does help me recharge, and it's important. I also love like I already mentioned, exercise is super important for me. So typically I do CrossFit at least once a week. And then a long time ago, I became a trainer. So I actually don't pay for my CrossFit, which sounds very pretentious, but I have a deal with my gym so I can go there for free. That is to say that I also do exercise. I will sometimes do Orange Theory Fitness, which I pay for. So even though it sounds like I'm doing a lot, those are things that are super important to me. And when I miss sections in the gym or days in the gym, it really does affect my personal mental health. One other thing, or a couple other things I'll mention super briefly. I really like a written schedule, even though most things are going digital, and I do have a digital calendar. I love just writing out my day, looking at my week, and like seeing what's up, what's important day to day is super helpful for me and keeps me centered. Time with friends is always important. Like Brandon, you made me write this down as we were speaking. I love a good like vacation. And last year, Brandon and I, his wife, and our friend Melissa and classmate all went to Puerto Rico, which was super, super, super fun and a great way to just take your brain off of things. So I know especially in America, like we do not always take our time off in vacation. So this is also your sign to schedule that vacation or get outside of work whenever you can. Like use your PTO because you need to, and your company does not care whether or not you use your PTO. I guarantee it. And the last one on my list that I just wanted to mention really briefly, which is just like a fun side hobby for me, is I've been actively learning Spanish for over a year, and I study for 30 minutes a day through podcasts, online tutors, and things like that, and sometimes reading. And it's been super helpful to have something so very non-veterinary medicine to do that I can really sink my teeth into, that it's really fun. So I don't know, if you're thinking about learning a language, give it a shot. So for my last question, I just wanted to know, what is a guilty pleasure of y'all's? And you cannot say The Bachelor, as you mentioned in previous episodes. I am happy to start. My guilty pleasure most recently has been the ice cream Oreo cookie sandwich they now have at the Kroger. Don't know if you heard of it, but it is literally the size of my hand almost. Like it's a big ass. It's a hefty sandwich filled with cookies and cream, and the outside parts of the sandwich are literally giant Oreos, and I could easily eat an entire box if I put my mind to it. I've limited myself to 2 at one time, but absolutely, I mean, I don't have much of a sweet tooth. I like to think. Maybe I'm telling on myself, but like that's my new favorite, and I literally have to like calm myself down.
So this is Adam. Sticking with the food theme, we've definitely been on a nerds clusters kick. Man, those things are good. Let me tell you that. So you kind of get the benefit of the nerds, the taste wise. But you know, nerds just go everywhere. And then you got the second generation nerds ropes, which was a little bit better. It kind of kept them together. But you know, sometimes would fall apart. Sometimes you would lose some nerds. So you know, mild innovation there, but we weren't quite there. But now we got third generation nerds clusters. And man, those things, you just take them and you pop them in your mouth. Perfect gummy chew to the center. And then that sweet, crunchy nerds on the outside. You can't beat it. So as of late, sticking with the food theme again, going to have to go with the nerds clusters.
This is Brandon. For me, one thing that I've been getting into recently is looking at off-roading videos on YouTube. I have a 2014 Jeep Wrangler that I've had since vet school that I still have. It's got like about almost 117,000 miles on it. And I've been basically just hoping that once I finish residency and wherever we end up, I can do a couple of modifications to it and actually take it out and do some wheeling. So it's something that I've been kind of just like looking at on my own time and when I need to get away. And it's not something that my wife's super happy about because that's going to be more money spent on another hobby down the road. But yeah, that's a little thing that I've been doing recently.
This is Chris. Brandon, that is awesome. We should definitely plan an overlanding trip once you're done with school or residency.
Oh, hell yeah. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I do like doing that. That's not a guilty pleasure of mine. I just enjoy it randomly. I don't know. Food used to be my guilty pleasure, like a lot, especially like candy and stuff. So, but I haven't had a whole lot recently. So I guess my guilty pleasure now is like, I don't know, just binge watching some type of movie or TV show on Netflix. JT definitely always gives me a hard time for how I'll just binge something until it's over. So
1,000%. Well, you will binge something to death. Like we'll go. I remember back in vet school, like where you would watch. We would all start a TV show, and you would watch like eight episodes over the weekend, and we'd be like, "Chris, we're on episode 2." You're like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Yes, it's true.
So good times. So great.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dr. Bros. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. We will love you forever. It would also help us out if you could share this episode with others who may be interested in today's topic. You can also tell us what you want to hear. You can drop suggestions in the comments or shoot us an email at thedoctorbros@gmail.com or DM us at thedoctorbros on Instagram. You can also reach me at DermDrJeff, DermDogtorJeff, on Instagram and TikTok. If you need immediate mental health assistance or are having suicidal thoughts, you can call or text the U.S. Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988. There are also veterinary support groups on Facebook or Instagram that you can check out as well.
This is Adam. You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Adam DVM. That's DRADAMDVM.
Hey, this is Chris, and you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Chris Hernandez.
And this is Brandon. You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Mason IM.